The more video that we see of the siege of the Capitol last week, the more we are learning about just how organized and prepared some of these rioters were. They were dressed for combat, kitted out with tactical vests, helmets, body armor, and they were ready to do more than just raise their voices inside the Capitol. Many national security experts say that we have witnessed a domestic insurgency. I want to bring in General Wesley Clark to talk about this. He is a CNN military analyst, and of course, he is a former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. General, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Brianna. Also, I fought in Vietnam, and during that period, all of us who were officers really studied insurgency. And this has all the earmarks of an insurgency if you stand back and look at it. So you have armed people who...
So to you, there is no doubt this is a domestic insurgency.
Well, if you call it that, it helps understand what you have to do about it. So it's not so much the label, but it's how you look at it. So, you know, the investigation Nancy Pelosi has called for, that's the tip of the iceberg. This is many, many years of disaffection with the United States government, armed groups, circles of supporters and sympathizers, people in the media, obviously people in Congress or assistants in Congress maybe, in political parties. And I can tell you it's a very cohesive force, because when I talk to people in the Republican Party, some of them tell me they are afraid, physically afraid, to speak out against it. They're threatened. They're threatened by legislators. They're threatened by their own constituents who label them as traitors. So we have to take this very, very seriously. There's a substantial number of people in this country who don't accept the legitimacy of our form of government. And why is that, and what can be done about it? So it's a much deeper set of questions. You know, for 40 years, we've been downplaying the effectiveness of the federal government, really starting with President Reagan, and who said, you know, let the private sector do it, and everybody takes a knock on government. And so people are then saying, well, what's the purpose of government? And when you combine this with the lack of civic education in some high schools, so people don't really understand government, and then you look at the people who are in the armed forces, who come back from combat and they're disaffected, they're angry, some of them have PTSD, and you can see that this is not just one incident that happened on the 6th of January. This really needs to be addressed very comprehensively, very, very calmly, very measured way by political authorities at all levels. This is a serious issue with the United States of America. And this is what our allies would see looking at this country from the outside.
And when you look at this, and as you say, with your expertise in insurgency, this has the hallmarks of it. The president's role in this, in his language, repetitive, one, saying that this election was stolen when it wasn't, and then the call to action that he was giving them leading up to this event that preceded the riot, and also in his speech right before it. What is his culpability? Should he face criminal charges?
Absolutely. He's given this broad-based insurgent movement a cause, not an ideology, but a cause, in this case a stolen election, built on a lot of other lies. And he's the charismatic leader. Now, every insurgency is different. This one is very strange in that he was the elected leader of the country whose system of government he's trying to overthrow. But that doesn't make it any less of a crime. And when he is out of office, he wants to remain as the leader of this group. He's raised $250 million. He's trying to hold on to his power and money. Does he really know what he was doing? Did he really intend to go after and attack and maybe have Mike Pence killed? I mean, we don't know that. We don't really understand what his intent was. But he certainly was up there with his fist saying, we're going to fight, they're going to fight. And you have to look at this and think, this is not the constitutional way that the United States transitions power. We don't operate like this. Historically, we're very proud of the peaceful transfer of power. It's one of the hallmarks of an established democracy. And this man who was elected to the presidency is leading a movement that's trying to overturn it. And Brianna, the simple facts are that today there are still millions of people in America who believe the election was stolen based on what President Trump has said. And there are members of the Republican Party who voted not to certify the elections of the results of these 5 states. And some of them are afraid to come out against President Trump. So I think we have to take this very seriously, and we have to look at him in his role as a leader as being culpable.
Yeah, it is interesting to hear you say, as the lawmakers fear the insurgency, which they certainly do. General Wesley Clark, thank you so much for lending your expertise to this.
Thank you, Britt.